So hello Flight Simmers, it's me back here, Neil, and we're on the flight line again for another flight. And today we're returning our flight from Sherburn in Elmet to Manchester Barton. And we flew out here in the Cessna 152. We're going to fly back in the 172 because both of these videos are being done just after patch 2 has been released for Flight Sim, and I want to just see how these aircraft have improved in patch 2. So we won't waste any further time. I'm going to start straight away with my video, and hopefully I'm going to be able to show you a little bit of my Sky Demon map, which I'll bring up the side of me afterwards from my iPad. So we're in the Cessna 172 today. We're flying from Sherburn in Elmet, and we're going to fly back to Manchester Barton. Just looking at the weather now, it's not too bad. Broken clouds at 2,300 feet, and we're looking at 1022, and wind is 8 knots, 050 degrees. So looking quite good for our flight back. Should be a nice easy flight with a bit of headwind. A bit of tailwind, which will take us about 24 minutes in the 172. So let's get the 172 started. I've done all the external checks, so let's get the engines running. So we're going to check out static heat. Alt static is off. It is. Mixture is full rich. Throttle 1/4 inch open. We're going to do beacon, we want on, battery on, and fuel pump on. 1, 2, 3, fuel pump off. I'm going to shout prop clear. I'll just check that the fuel is switched on down here. And we're in the centre, that's good. Set parking brake and starter up. There we go, set 1000 RPM. Let's have a look at what we got. Temperature's good, oil pressure a bit low at the moment, we'll keep our eye on that. Check it's in the green. Fuel looks good. Ammeter looks good. Vacuum, we'll have to check those when we do our run-up tests. Lights as required, so we'll get the nav lights on, and we'll get the taxi light on ready, ammeter on, and the avionics on. There we go. And they get the transponder onto standby, and we're squawking 7,000. And everything's coming on nicely. I'll just connect up VATSIM. File my flight plan. And also we will flaps are up, that's good. We've got altimeter, what did we say, 1022. So let's just zoom in here and set 1022. As Manchester approaches online, so we might get something from them when we get nearer. We'll certainly monitor that when we get nearer. Nothing for Leeds. Taxi lights on. Brakes will test when we move. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty much ready to go. I'll just set. There we go. Log engine start. And just double check what we've got in terms of wind from 50, so Probably go with runway 10. Should be fine. Yeah, got a bit of a headwind there. We go with runway 10. So let's runway 10. We'll go. Oh, we'll just get ourselves on the right frequency as well. 121.8. 121.8 for transponder on, and Sherburn traffic, Golf Foxtrot November Romeo Hotels, taxiing for takeoff runway 10. Okay, ready to go. Let's have a look. Nothing to the left and nothing to the right. We're going to go to the left. We're just going to ignore this fuel stuff in front of us because it's always a problem at the moment in Flight Simulator. So let's give it a little bit of juice and do a very tight turn to the left. Bit unrealistic, I know, to drive through the fuel depot, but unfortunately they keep putting you right up against this thing, and there's no easy way to get back, and the slewing doesn't even work very well effectively either. So, okay, so we're going to taxi out to runway 10, and then from there we will fly our way back to Barton in Manchester. We need to turn left here at this taxiway. And flaps to 10 for takeoff. So just looking at the taxi checks. Turn coordinator looks alright. I'm just going to stop here so that I can stop into wind to do the run-up checks. That's pretty much into the wind there. So on the brakes, taking the power up. (1700 RPM). And we'll just check landing lights on and strobes on, pitot heat, make sure the ammeter's okay. Yep, that looks good. And we'll just check the magneto. So left magneto 100 drop and back up, and left magneto 100 drop. It was the right magneto before, really, not the left. Okay, that looks good, and we'll just try idling. Idling seems okay. Just going to bring the temperature, the engine back up a little bit because we've not quite got oil pressure where we want it just yet. Turn ourselves around and head down. Hopefully by the time we get to the runway we'll get the oil pressure where we want it. Get a bit of a nicer seating position. Oil pressure's coming up, nearly in the green. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a fairly short takeoff using from the start of the runway, and we're going to do an immediate turn to the left to try to avoid the gas venting station, which is at the end of the runway to 1,000 feet. So we're going to immediately turn to the left to go to the side of the gas venting station. So landing lights on. Sherburn traffic, Golf Romeo Hotel is lining up for takeoff, runway 10. Okay, we'll take it on the roll. Full power. And we're off. We turn to the left. And this will just keep us away from the gas venting. I don't know, because I've never actually been there in real life, I don't know how serious they are about that gas venting thing at the end of the runway, but it does cut over the traffic pattern and it says surface to 1,000 feet, and I don't think we would have been able to avoid it just doing a regular takeoff, because we're already turning round it now and we're not even at 1,000 feet. So flaps up. We're in the pattern. We're going to follow the pattern around until we just get level with our track to Manchester. And we're climbing initially to 2,000 feet. Need to tighten my turn a little bit because there's quite a lot of villages here that that we're not allowed to overfly, so I'm just making sure that I'm not overflying those villages. And we're coming up to 2,000 feet now. So the Cessna 172 immediately seems much nicer, much more stable than it did before. It seems immediately easier for me to trim. What's my cruise power today? 2,500 RPM, so we can increase a little bit more. But we are climbing there when we don't want to. Just get ourselves down to back down to 2,000. I've just gone a little bit off track here, trying to avoid this village. I'm going to turn now towards Dewsbury. Very sunny here. I'm just going to descend to make sure we're at 2,000 feet to go underneath the CTA for Leeds Bradford. We need to be on the right path so we don't bust their airspace. Very sunny. Going to be all the way into the sun going back. So heading for Dewsbury now. Descend a tiny bit more. At 2,000 feet, we can climb a little bit once we get underneath the Leeds traffic. Quite bumpy here. We're just sort of below a layer of cloud, and it's a little bumpy. It's all right. All good. Just have a look if there's any ATIS we can get here. Leeds ATIS maybe. 1018. Let's climb a little bit higher now. Set our cruise power setting. Oh, it's going to be sun right in our eyes all the way back to Manchester. So we're just going underneath Leeds approach. Underneath, they're not online, so I'm not too bothered about tuning in to anything. It's only Manchester approach who are online. So we won't bother with Leeds listening squawk or listening to them at all. We'll just wait till we get back over. Let's have a look. What we got out the window? Looking nice. City of Leeds over there. Our ground speed's 105 knots. Our airspeed is 110 knots. Doesn't make a lot of sense because there is a wind, so our ground speed should be in theory higher than our should in theory be higher than our true airspeed, but hey ho, or indicated airspeed rather. Going to pop the autopilot on, I know some people think using the autopilot is cheating. I don't personally think it's cheating. Heading mode, that was silly. Take heading mode off, let's set the heading back. The thing about an autopilot is that it doesn't, people think that it's the aeroplane is flying itself if you've got the autopilot on, and that's not true. The aeroplane is not flying itself, you're still flying it. You have to program the autopilot to do what you want it to do. So having an autopilot is just another tool for the flight. It's not taking any of the control of the aircraft away from you, it's just assisting you in control of the aircraft. So when you're looking in and you're operating the autopilot, looking at the instruments, you're not looking out of the window, you're flying using the instruments. So the autopilot is just a way to assist, really. And actually most of the time autopilots are they're very useful for instrument flight, because they give you the ability to spend time looking at the instruments and use the autopilot to move the plane around, whereas for VFR flight a lot of the time it's easier to look out the window and move the controls yourself. If you're doing a long VFR flight, obviously the autopilot is excellent. I know people who've flown to Switzerland and Austria and Germany and Spain, even from the UK, in single-engined planes. And of course, if you're doing a flight like that, then the autopilot is ideal. So we're just going overhead Dewsbury here at 2,000 feet. Well, we're just above 2,000 feet. If we want to descend, we can press the button there, the autopilot will descend us. We'll just bring the throttle back a little bit and we'll descend down to 2,000 feet. I should have done that earlier when I put the autopilot on, just to get us. It's actually made it a little bit nicer with the sun because it's taken us behind the mountain a little bit. But as soon as we get past this area of Leeds CTA, then we'll need to get ourselves up to a higher altitude. So that is now. So we can now climb to 3,000 feet maximum, but we aren't going to go that high. We're going to go up to 2,800. So I'm going to ask it to climb. I'm going to give us full throttle, and the autopilot will climb the aircraft now. And I've pre-selected 800 or 2,800 feet in the autopilot here. So we're now flying on a heading which I've selected, and I'm going to just adjust our heading now to make us go towards Manchester, because we're now flying from Dewsbury towards Manchester directly. There we go. So we're flying heading of 250 degrees, 255 degrees towards Manchester. Yeah, about 255. And that's going to take us directly now from Dewsbury here all the way to the M62 Heaton interchange, which is a reporting point for Barton, at which point we'll again descend underneath the terminal area. You can see on the bottom of the Sky Demon here, it shows us the vertical profile. Now you can see that it's just taken us to 3,000, which is not really what I asked for. So in actual real flying, that would be going to just descend us a little bit there. It should have stopped us at 2,800 feet, but it hasn't. So I'm just going to okay. There we go. So I'm just going to back off our speed again, back to our cruise speed. Lean the mixture a little, back us off a bit. Still not quite settled at 2,800 feet, but hey, we're not doing too badly. So we're about to approach Manchester terminal area, and Manchester terminal area will be at 3,500. Sorry, I always say terminal area and it's not. It's because it says TMA and it makes me think of terminal area, but it isn't. It's transponder mandatory area. So that's above 3,000 feet. But we're not going to go up into that area, even though we have a transponder, which we should have put on. What we are going to do though is we're going to monitor. Just going to find out what the monitoring code is. So basically we use a listening squawk, and it's 118575. I think is Manchester. We've got some clearance ground approach, so Manchester approach, which is 118575. So we'll just put in 118575 here. .575. We'll pop that in. And we'll put a listening squawk, which is 7366. And we'll just pop that back to standby, and we'll put 7366 and back to alt, and we'll ident that so we pop up on his display. So we are now listening just under 3,000 feet, and they know, they can see that we're listening to Manchester approach 118575. And that's going to be us pretty much all the way back to Manchester. 2,000. It's weird that it's just stopped at 3,000 feet, even though it's I've got 2,700 on here. That may be a bug. I tell it to go down. What does it do then? Interesting. Well, it's keeping us below the terminal area anyway, and then as we get closer soon we'll need to, I've said it again, it's keeping us below the TMA, the transponder mandatory area anyway. We will we'll have to descend further soon anyway, because we'll come to the controlled zone and we'll have to be underneath that at 1,800 feet. So let's have a little look at some scenery. Off to the right, off to the left there, Dovestones Reservoirs. It's a visual reporting point. I think that's just over there. And on the other side we have, what do we have on the other side? No, should be coming towards Rochdale, so Rochdale should be down here maybe after this next hill. I think we just passed Halifax, maybe back there, and we're coming over the highest point of the Pennines, really, between Manchester and Leeds. Very difficult in these conditions to see any other traffic that might be around. Now it looks like 26 right is in use at Manchester and 26 left, so we'll probably take 26 left because of the 26 right problem where they have the tree at the end of the runway in Flight Simulator 2020. So we'll probably take 26 left approach. We'll probably join overhead at 1800 feet, sorry 1500 feet, and then descend on the dead side down to 1000 feet for the right hand pattern for runway 26 left. I think that's what we'll do. I'll just have a quick look at the airfields for Barton. Yeah, overhead join is 1500 feet, caution nearby controlled airspace, yep, we know about that. And the METAR is 6 knots at 80 degrees and the sky is clear. So it looks like Barton, Manchester QNH is 1021. So we'll just have a little look and see if we've got that. We're not far off that, to be honest. And Barton QFE is 1019. And it looks like 08 left is actually in use, which is interesting. Because it says 08 left hand circuit is in use here. But in on Sky Demon it shows us that 26 right is in use. So we're going to say make approach 08 left, and we're going to do standard overhead join. And now we need to descend down to 1,800 feet. So we'll just do that now. Now we can set a vertical speed, that's good, let's do that. 500 feet.
Manchester radar, hello, Singapore 52, descending to level 120.
Singapore 52, Manchester radar, hello, vector for the ILS approach runway 05 right.
Vector for the ILS 05 right, Singapore 52.
Singapore 52, fly heading to 10 degrees.
Heading to 10 degrees.
I'm just going to turn now to 239 degrees, which is our inbound course to Manchester. So only to Barton, Manchester Barton, only a very slight course deviation here. And we're just on a we have to be under 2,500 feet at this point, which is fine because we are under 2,500 feet, but we also need to get under 2,000 feet fairly quickly. So I'm just going to do that now.
Singapore 52, descend flight level 60.
Descend level 60, Singapore 52.
Yeah, so autopilot's coming off. It's not taking me where I want to go now. Being a bit silly. There have been a lot of problems with the autopilot in Flight Simulator 2020. So at the moment some of the autopilots work, some of them don't in some of the aircraft. But basically we're following the M62 now, which is this motorway here. And that's going to take us all the way into overhead Barton. We just need to stay under 2,000 feet, so my intention is that we'll stay under by 1,800, so it'll be 1,800 feet.
Singapore 52 turn left heading 190 degrees.
Left heading 190 degrees, Singapore 52.
So plane keeps wanting to to rise. So definitely I think there's been some improvement to the 172, but it's definitely not flying as well as the 152 flies. And I think a lot of people have had a similar opinion. A lot of people have been saying that they really like the Cessna 152 in Flight Simulator 2020, that it's almost as near to a real Cessna 152 as they've seen in Flight Simulator before. And I would agree. I think it flies really nice. It handles as you want it to handle. It does what you like. It's easy to trim it, get it to stay at the right level. The 172 just isn't quite. There's just something about it that I'm not quite sure what it is. Just not quite right. I don't know whether the autopilot is wrong or what. So just turning here again, you'll be able to see shortly.
228 mile track miles till touchdown, descend to altitude 5,000 feet, QNH 1021.
Barton Airport should be just ahead of us, and we're just going to change to 121.8, and we're going to say Barton traffic, Golf Foxtrot November Romeo Hotel is joining overhead at 1,500 feet for left hand downwind runway 8 left. So we're just approaching the airfield. We have to approach at 1,500 feet. And we'll fly over the opposite end of the runway at 1,500 feet and do a turn round to join the circuit at 1,000 feet. And normally here there would be Barton information you could contact, and they would tell you if there were many aircraft in the pattern and etc., and you can make sure that they knew you were going to join and how you were going to join, and that was okay. So that's good. There's nobody here at the moment because nobody has no one said anything. I'm just trying to stay. I'm just flying. You can see we're just flying over Barton there underneath. So I'm just trying to stay at 1,500 feet while we go over, and then we will descend down once we get over the runway. So now we descend down to 1,000 feet, and we will also make a turn to join the pattern. And back over the airfield at 1,000 feet. And then we'll fly out to join the pattern. Barton traffic, Golf Romeo Hotel, turning downwind for runway 08 left to land. And we're going to turn round now to join the pattern, bring the flaps down to 10. Speed down. And the airport should be just over there. Flaps down. There we go. And we go, we're down. Flaps up. Barton traffic, Golf Romeo Hotel, vacated, active runway. Though we're off, we can stop squawking mode C, and we can turn off our transponder. Flaps are up. We're a downhill taxi, so we'll just check our brakes, and I've stopped our the RPM I've turned the engine right down because otherwise we're going to accelerate down the hill there. Come up and find a spot to park. Now Barton Airfield here is the same layout as this, but the buildings don't look anything like this. So I'm hoping soon Orbex or someone's going to do their Barton Airport for Flight Sim 2020. But for now, we're just going to park on the grass here, which is where people usually park. There we go, that'll do. Parking brake set, and let's lose our mixture. Avionics off. Oh well, that was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen it do that before. Well, there you go, there's some statistics for us for the end of our flight. Thank you very much for joining me. And this is well, I would nearly said my original name, but it's the flight line, and thank you very much for joining us today on our flight.